Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Yeaman, Last Stand Food Truck.
Yes, sir.
Want to step to the mic, please?
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Yaman Slay. I operate the Last Stand, the food truck across the street from you guys here for the last 2.5 years. And we operate under, temporary permit that we extend every 6 months or so. We have partnered with Ryan from the health department and Robin from the permitting department to get that. In the next So the first option is, as you're all aware, Venture Global is building a little building across the street, a restaurant and a marketplace. They've been building it for over a year now, or just about a year, I believe, since they broke ground. I don't know what's the time of completion of that. While back, we were approached by a company called Lighthouse Bend to put a proposal to operate that place. We put a proposal to operate the place, and we waited for a response. We got a response that supposedly we don't qualify to operate that place. Now, I don't know how exactly they got to that conclusion. My team consists of an executive chef, fully accredited from the American Chef Association, a bar manager with over 15 years experience in the bar management industry. I myself been director of operation for big companies like Wendy's, Dickey's Barbecue Pit, Taco Bell. I opened Cameron Landing Restaurant and Bar for the last 16, 17 years. So we definitely understand how to operate a restaurant. The reasoning we got behind that was we did not provide a budget attached to the proposal. What I was trying to explain to them is it was impossible to provide a budget because that budget is strictly going to be built on when the extension going to be built, when CP2 is going to be built. There's a whole different budget if there is 2,000. So number one, I would like to ask if you guys can help us actually reconsider that issue and see how can we operate. I don't think it will be beneficial to the parish if a big company come from outside, take over that building. Big companies are not going to work for Cameron Parish like locals that live in Cameron Parish. Biggest proof, Family Dollar couldn't reopen. They can't find people to operate the building, and the building going to stay like that. It's a different environment operating a business in Cameron Parish, and we understand it. I've been here for about 3 years, just before Hurricane Laura. I know it's not very long, but I have managed to understand the logistics of how to operate a business in Cameron. So if we can get that building, we definitely can solve that problem. We will be in fully satisfactory of the Health Department of Louisiana requirement. Ryan have been fantastic working with us day in, day out, making sure we continue to operate safe. We haven't made anybody sick or anything, but it's hard to operate out of a food truck when we operate on the volume we operate with. Right now, we're very slow, it's nothing, but a food truck is not intended to make $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a day in sales. That's what we were used to do back at the day when CP1 was being built. I just want to bring that to your attention that we did apply to run it. I think the excuse that we don't qualify to run it is invalid. We have all the experience in the world between my 3 people in my team, the core people. We have over 50 years of restaurant management at the highest level. I used to manage, actually, I used to be director of operation for Wendy's, in charge of every single Wendy's in the state of Louisiana. So if I can manage that, I definitely can manage one building over here. So that's one option that we have on the table. The other option, obviously, is the Family Dollar building. We have reached out to the landlord, and we are in continuous negotiation with the landlord to see if we can lease the building and then turn it into a restaurant, a bar. Since the restaurant is ground level, grandfathered in, and doesn't require elevation, the building is brand new, really doesn't require much capital to get it operational into a restaurant and a convenience store. The couple of challenges we got into is at getting an ATC clearance because of the school zoning and such as. I worked with Robin, which was very helpful in providing everything that we need to be able actually to obtain that part. The biggest issue right now with it is the landlord want to sell the property. He does not want to lease it, and the asking price is about close to $750,000, which is pretty much high for real estate in Cameron. He said that within few months, if he doesn't sell, he will consider to lease that building. I don't know if you guys have any influence over, over the landlord to push him a little bit to create a use of that building. I mean, that building is a beautiful building, brand new built, standing over there, and we definitely can do something with it if we're able to lease it for a reasonable price. The third option, obviously, which is the least favor on us, is to build a little commissary to be in compliance with the state of Louisiana Health Department. Put an elevated building 14 feet up in the air and turn it into a commissary so we can continue to operate the food truck without having to move the food truck every day as required by regulation to a commissary. But I mean, that option is, number one, expensive. Number two, it's still a food truck. It won't have any seating areas. It won't have, it won't have what the community really need in Cameron. We really need a place where we can go at 7:30 p.m. and sit down and grab a meal without having to drive an hour to Lake Charles. I have the capability of making that happen if we can get one of the two options that I presented first available to us. We have a team that can make it. We have the financial ability to make that happen as well. All what needed is basically understanding who can we talk to about those two options, especially option number one. If we ask anybody from Venture Global, they don't know. If we ask anybody from the parish, they also say Venture Global have right now the final decision. We don't know. So we're just confused of who knows what. So if we can get some clarification, will be great.
My question to you is, who told you you weren't qualified to operate a business?
So we received an email from Vice President of External Affairs, Jessica Wickett, I believe, and it's signed by two people, by the parish administrator, I believe, Ms. Kathy, and Jessica from Venture Global. And the email read, after considering your application and going through the proposal, we appreciate it. We see that you have a great plan for it. However, we ask for you to include a budget for the reason is, I don't know when CP2 starts. If CP2 starts tomorrow, the budget is different than if start 8 months from now.
Let me stop you, please. Okay, I understand that Venture says you have to have a budget plan. I understand that. Cameron Parish, can you explain to me why we expect that?
Yes, so the Lighthouse Bend project is a part of the CEA that was executed back in 2017. The initial CEA said that at the time that Venture Global would donate and transfer ownership of the facility to the parish would be in charge of operating either internally or securing a third-party operator. As they got into building the facility, Venture Global decided that to be good stewards of the community, they wanted to hold on to Lighthouse Bend and actually pay their own employees to operate it, or pay a outside party to operate it for a few years to bridge the gap between the slow time and when CP2 comes on board, to kind of show that it is a sustainable business. So that was the decision that Venture Global elected to move forward with. And so they rejected all proposals, and he wasn't the only one that provided one. We had a few proposals submitted, and Venture Global made the decision, and, you know, of course, with my approval, to reject all of them for the time being, let Venture Global get it open and running, and then once they have a good baseline of expected revenue, then they would transfer it to the parish, and we could do what we chose to do. We could either go find our own operator, we could execute a contract with the current operator, or we could staff it internally. But this is a timeline, and this is a few years out.
Okay, but the parish is not denying them because of their budget.
No, not solely on that.
Okay,
And
that's my concern. We should not have a decision to make on their budget. Their budget is, they should do their own budget. Now, if Venture Global, and they're running this business, and they decide that his budget is not right, then I understand why you can't get it. I understand that. So, I just wanna clear it up that,
It is.
that the parish is not the one that's stopping this because of budget.
I signed on behalf of the parish because we are gonna be the future owners of the facility, but we didn't really have a say in any operator at this time because it's not our building. And so, that's kind of where we are. We're looking at, once the restaurant is built out, they're anticipating opening this summer. And this operator's gonna come in and run the entire facility, because it's more than just a restaurant. They're gonna have a market area, so a convenience store, selling gas and diesel on the water, and the RV rental side of it, and marina. So it's more than just the restaurant. So Venture Global is looking for someone to manage the entire facility as one project and not sublease it out to different vendors.
I still understand that. I do understand that.
That's,
But my problem is, I don't want anybody saying that the parish is trying to stop anybody from beginning a business or running a business in Cameron Parish because we decide that they don't have the right budget. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, the email that we got didn't explain what Ms. Kat just explained now. It was, I can provide a copy of it. All what it says, we did not provide a budget. That was a requirement of the application. Therefore, the final decision denied. None of what she has said right now has been explained to us to the email. Have that all been explained in the email, obviously we wouldn't be here discussing that.
Okay,
because
that's what I'm saying though.
correct, that's
I want everybody to understand this.
absolutely.
Because she agreed to the financier to start with, the company, Venture Global itself. So it's not the parish that's stopping this, okay? I wanna make that perfectly clear.
Absolutely, no, I understand that now when she explained it. However, I don't know why they wouldn't include that information in the email. I mean, I have a copy of the email. None of that have been said. She have a copy of the email. She knows very well that none of that have been said there. But if that's the case, my other question is, I mean, I don't know what Venture Global and, you know, who they're gonna bring here. I don't know if that's confidential, but who's the company that's gonna come and operate all that? But rather than bringing an outside company, and we offered to run the whole thing. You know, my partner Greg Gashawson, he run an RV park in town, and we can run a convenience store and a restaurant. So we can run the whole thing as a group, as a total. I mean, we offered to run it as a total. Now, my question will be is, as a parish with an influence on Venture Global, why allowing them to bring an outside operator than giving a priority to inside operator? There's me here, there's Tracy from Anchors Up, you know, there's Canix over there. I mean, there is several people in town that are capable of doing that, and I think as a gift to the parish, as the whole thing have been happening, you know, the whole building or whatever the deal was, is why not support the local community, the people that lives here? I mean, where are they gonna find people to run all that? They're gonna have to shuttle people from Lake Charles and all over the place. It's not gonna be as easy as advertising. I mean, the Family Dollar couldn't operate here because they couldn't bring people into work. If those people, they think they can bring people to Cameron, pay them enough money to bring them here and still make money, they're delusional. They don't understand doing business in Cameron Parish. It's a complete different, I mean, you can pay somebody $16 an hour to come cook burgers here. They can work in Lake Charles for $14. I mean, everybody's paying high wages. I mean, we pay our employee close to $20 an hour at the food truck just to make burgers. I mean, that's a very high wage, plus gas money every day. So I would say that why not ask them to ask somebody local to do it?
We understand that, but we don't have the authority to tell these people who they can hire and who they can't hire.
Correct, understand that.
So, you know.
Shut, but they're not to that point right now. Their sole concern right now is getting this operator in because the restaurant and market area was just built as a shell. There's nothing inside. So this third party is gonna come in and customize the restaurant, the market, make sure the restaurant's built out for the next restaurant person that would come in. It would be something that's sufficient for that. So that's still an option. I just don't think they're there yet. They're just trying to get the building fixed and ready to open, and then they'll start working on operators for everything else.
Okay.
We'll look into it then.
Yeah, we can certainly get a better
Check into
timeline
that.
of when they start looking at that.
We looked at the plans of the restaurant and of the whole building when we first were approached, and we looked at all the architect work and all that stuff. And definitely who's doing this, I mean, is not doing a great job. They're building a fancy building, but they're not building an operational building for a restaurant and a marketplace. I can tell from the plan I saw they lack many basic stuff that's gonna make the operation of that restaurant almost a nightmare if it doesn't get fixed earlier. But yeah, I appreciate that information. Again, that information is told the first time to us. We have never heard that information before, and it makes more sense now, and hopefully something happens. So we'll just have to sit and wait, and hopefully, Ryan, now that you're aware of that situation, we'll see how long the state can work with us on extending our food truck permit until we figure a solution. Like I said, I committed to Ryan that by mid-February and by end of June to have a permanent solution, but now that new information that comes might throw things off. So that's something that we'll have to see and figure, because, you know, we don't want to leave Cameron Parish. Obviously, we're here to stay, but obviously we have to figure out a way to stay here in Cameron and operate without the fear of being shut down. So,
Okay. Well, we appreciate that, and we don't want to see you leave either. Seriously, and Ryan will do his best. I know he will to make sure that you're.
yeah, Ryan and Robin have been instrumental helping us, supporting us day in, day out, and all aspects of continue to operate in Cameron Parish, and we appreciate that.
Mr. President, I do have a couple
Yes, sir.
comments and questions, but on the budget side, I was in looking at a restaurant. I had to prove, and it was required to have a budget. So with someone coming in a facility like this with no budget, I don't know how anybody could hire them and make them an operator. You have to, if you say you're doing all this, you had to make a long-term plan.
Correct. So I run $500 million P&L before. I understand budgeting, and I could have pencil whipped a budget and just give it to them, but that'll be the wrong thing to do. So how do you write a budget without knowing when CP2 start? So if CP2 starting, your budget is gonna be 50 times higher than CP2 is not there. Obviously, because you're gonna need more people, you're gonna need more equipment, you're gonna need more food, you're gonna need many more things to operate while you have 3,000 people in time. I'm giving you an example. A year ago, I wouldn't be able to attend that meeting. I will have a line at the food truck from here until from the food truck to here, because we can't. Right now, if we make $200 a day in sales, we're lucky, right? Before we do $7,000 a day in sales. So we understand we need to provide a budget. What we ask them is to defer the budget plan until we figure out when CP2 starts. Because that can be the deal breaker of when. If CP2 starts, let's say in a year from now, and we're gonna be paying $10,000 rent a month, we're gonna go out of business. I mean, we can't support that, obviously. You're gonna be out of a couple $100,000 before you bring $1 in. If CP2 starts tomorrow, paying $10,000 rent, that's not an issue even, right? So,
But you should also bank your P&Ls on a normal day's business, not,
there is no normal day business in Cameron Parish. This is not Lake Charles. There's no expectation of what's gonna happen day to day in the business while CP2 is not here. 6 months ago, we were 6,000% up in sales versus today, literally, not exaggerating, okay? So we told them that we will provide a budget once we know the timeline of CP2. It's not that we're not capable of writing a budget. I mean, I'm a bachelor's degree in business administration. My partner have an MBA from Tulane. We all run P&Ls. We all understand budget. We didn't tell them we can't write you a budget. We didn't say we don't know how to write a budget. All what we said is we need more information for us to write a budget. We told them we have capital to invest. We said we're willing to invest about $150,000 or $120,000 in that project as well from our own money, beside what Venture Global or whatever they are putting in. And obviously, if we need to invest more, we can. It's just we don't know. You can't invest in what you don't know. You know, every RV park have what, 2-3 trailers. 6 months ago, there was an RV in every corner of this parish, right? So how do you budget for that? We understand budget.
and they built their parks to where they can run minimum trailers. That's how they budget. They
Correct.
have to. I mean, why would anybody give anyone money and not have a budget? And you got a multi-million-dollar restaurant sitting here, and you hire somebody to come in, like you said, it's slow, and they go bust on them.
It's not, the budget doesn't have to deal anything with going bust on. The budget have nothing to do with how much money you have. The budget is writing what's your expectation of your sales, what's your income basically, what's your middle expenses, and what's your variable expenses, and what's your bottom line. That's what a budget is. You can't write about a top line without correct forecast of sales. And without CP2, you have no correct forecast of sale. We're not asking them to give us the building with no budget. We ask them to provide the budget as time comes, when it becomes relevant. That's what we ask. And this happened a year ago. So imagine if we provided a budget a year ago. I think we submitted our request in March or April of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. We're a year out. The building's still being built. I mean, they have built the plant almost faster than this restaurant. I mean, that's just a fact. They built a $10 billion plant in 2.5 years, dodging a pandemic and a hurricane, 2 hurricanes actually, Laura and Delta, and they still building 9,000 square foot building for almost, they broke ground in February of last year.
Well,
I mean, with the amount of money they have,
They got a contractor issue, so I know all about that.
they didn't have any issue building the plant though, right? They didn't
They
have
had
any
no
contractor
issue.
issue. They built it quick because it generates money. Yeah, I can tell you, part of my job in Cameron, I do handle the ships. You know, when they come, the big Venture Global ships, they come in to get loaded with LNG, and we tie them up and release them every time a ship come in. And we have just tied up ship number 105. Every ship of those ships contain $150 million worth of LNG. So contractor issues with the amount of money Venture Global have can be solved pretty quick. That's for sure.
I mean, they're doing it now, so it's out of our hands, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of what's in the plan
Okay.
at this point.
All right.
I would imagine they would, but,
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
still
Well,
going through the
hopefully,
process.
maybe that General Dollar store over there, Dollar, whatever one it was, maybe you could, something to work out with that, it might lease it maybe.
Hopefully. I mean,
Nice place, just sitting there.
yeah, we're in constant touch with the landlord and with the agent. You know, they're insisting on selling it right now. And he said if he doesn't get a buyer in the next 3-4 months, he might be willing to lease it since no money will be coming to him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys for having me here. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
Hey,
We certainly appreciate Yaman. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he gives all parish employees a discount on their lunch. So we certainly appreciate that.
Oh, no, we appreciate you guys. I mean, we like to make sure that sheriff department, fire department, police, jury, everybody get to eat for reasonable price. We appreciate the service you guys do, especially on times of this in the country where everybody is against the people in charge. So we're happy to help and assist. We thank you all for your support.
Okay,
thank you,
thank you, sir.
So while we're on that topic, I don't know if you guys wanna discuss agenda item 12 on the voting meeting, but it's regarding the food trucks and the ordinance. And DHH has, established their deadline. They are no longer gonna allow, special accommodations to the two food trucks in Cameron. So they are gonna have to, build a commissary on site or partner with an established business to utilize as a commissary. So, while they're gonna require, those concessions to the two, businesses we currently have in Cameron, it does not exempt them from permitting with us. And right now, we have no current ordinance that allows for, food trucks to be permitted in the village of Cameron. We only allow it for Holly Beach. So I think it's time for you guys to maybe consider either amending your ordinance to allow for food trucks. Maybe if it's parish-wide, or if you wanna restrict it just to the village of Cameron, you can maybe restrict it to, 2 or 3 permits. That way you're not permitting anyone new. Or make the decision that you're not gonna allow food trucks and tell them that, after 6 months, whether they are compliant with the HH with commission, a commissary or not, that it will not be allowed in Cameron.
Well, right now, we have it for Ford and Cameron.
No, there's
We have
no limit
no-
in Cameron.
No limit?
We have no, ordinance that provides for food trucks in Cameron. We've just been operating under an executive order by the president back, when Hurricane Laura hit, just that keeps extending that, 6 months. So it's on the agenda to extend it 6 months.
Yeah, I call one.
But if you have, if you are not gonna be supportive of an ordinance change, then you don't want them to waste their money building a commissary if you're not gonna allow it after the 6 months, expires. Or you could change it and maybe do 3 months and show that they're making progress to building a commissary, but then again, still, they're investing into a commissary, and it'll be a waste of money if you're not gonna allow a food truck.
Ryan, what consists I know what most of it is, but what consists of a commissary? Hello?
What is going on?
Get the popcorn.
Just hit him again, Jared.
I didn't do it.
She's over there.
Okay, only one has, yeah.
So can you explain,
I got it.
can you explain that, Ryan?
Do you want me to come up to the?
Yes, sir, please.
I'm gonna bring Amy up with me.
That's
She's
fine.
the boss out of our regional office in Lake Charles.
The commissary purpose is for them to go back to, on a regular basis, to empty, dispose of any of their, waste, get, items from the commissary if they're not able to hold it onto the truck. For the commissary, they're gonna need a 3-compartment sink, a hand sink, and a mop sink. That's the base of what they need. Then, based off of the production, if you're doing $6,000 to $7,000 a day in a mobile truck, it needs to be a considerably larger facility, because our goal for these mobile trucks is not to have cross-contamination in there. So, with that extensive meal planning in a mobile truck, that is not what they're made for. So a commissary is where he would go back and forth to prepare food, either seasoned chicken, doing all that kind of stuff to eliminate cross-contamination. Also protects the city, the parish, from disposal of wastewater down your city drains. We have a lot of that happening and where we do have mobile trucks, and it's been a huge problem. So the commissary is just where it's the base. Yes.
I got a question. I've seen their, I've seen their trailers. They got extra trailers with their 3-compartment sinks and freezers and.
So for this executive, because y'all wanted.
We have city sewer they tied into too.
Right, they operated a actual facility there prior to the storms. And in order to give y'all, we were having so much traffic in and out of Cameron Parish that we wanted to, they asked, instead of having to drive back to Lake Charles to a commissary, could these 2 facilities that had restaurants previously have a stationary trailer with these requirements? And the parish allowed, the CBO, Mr. Miles, approved that they could dispose of their waste and use that potable water to provide to that mobile truck.
I got another question.
Yes, sir.
I go to Lake Charles a lot. There's food trucks all over Lake Charles. How's that possible? That don't move?
They have commissaries.
No, they got 'em like on the corner, street corners and stuff.
Yes,
They don't leave.
we regulate those, we do, but I have 5 people. And I am doing inspections of restaurants in Calcasieu Parish, and as we get those complaints, we go and take care of it. We work closely with pre-treatment for the city of Lake Charles. If we get complaints of people disposing water onto the street, they have to, they'll send their people out. We work closely to get that done. We work with law enforcement. But you know, I go to sleep and I have a life after I leave this job, so I'm not 24/7 watching mobile units. We send cease and desist.
No, I'm just curious, 'cause I mean, I go to town a lot, and I
Scott,
see, they don't ever
Every
move.
food truck has a commissary.
And they leave.
They are supposed to go back to their commissary daily. Regulating that is an issue, it is. But here in Cameron, the jury decided back in 2020, we were gonna allow the 2,
Mhm.
Anchors Up and The Last Stand, to operate, not going back to a commissary.
Right.
Because they were permitted, permanent
Right.
establishments prior to Hurricane Laura.
Right.
Okay, so with that being said, you know, when you see these food trucks in Lake Charles, they have a commissary. And you usually, and the big one is La Cucina, it's a commissary kitchen, it's built, it's right there on Alamo.
We have multiple now that they can go to, and Baton Rouge actually came in because we had such an ordeal in Lake Charles with people operating without commissaries that they approved them to use another location. So, you know, we're here to work with the people. I hear y'all want food and stuff like that, so we worked with the parish to come up with this idea for a temporary.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious about Lake Charles.
Oh, okay, yes, it's a beast.
Yeah.
It is the mobile trucks are definitely very difficult.
They're everywhere
for us
over
to-
there.
And if it's not regulated here in Cameron, it's gonna be the same way. We had that problem with that Mexican food truck, and I'm not saying,
It-
a year and a half ago, it was a problem. I don't, you can ask Amy, I saw the inspection. I mean, it's
Right.
public knowledge. I mean, it was a disaster.
Right,
We don't have that with Tressie and Young.
right.
We don't have that.
Let me ask you something. I know a little bit about the restaurant business. I've owned a couple of them. I own Shillelagh's and so,
Oh, fine.
okay? It was mandatory for us to have grease traps, the restrooms and everything else. Where these people are placed, do they have those facilities?
That would be your building official. The Department of Health no longer regulates grease trap and plumbing. The city building official, chief building official, handles that. But prior to, we require these individuals to go to them and get an approval. And the parish or whatever governing entity it is tells us, yes, they're good to go. So that is no longer us, but it is my understanding that they do have a grease trap or an interceptor at the.
Okay,
Tressie and Young do that.
okay, so they have grease trap, they have a sewage, okay? So, what else do they need
This
so
is,
not to go back to a commissary?
this is your ordinance for stationary versus mobile, and so they are mobile, they're not hard plumbed. They're considered, both of these are considered mobile units because they're not hard plumbed. So in order to be a commissary, you're supposed to be a stationary, can't pick up and leave.
So I guess that's why I see in here, Anchors Up is filing to raise theirs.
Right, Tressie, I spoke with K&M Engineering, I think, Gary, somebody with K&M. And anyways, that was yesterday evening. He was talking about what is the requirements for commissary kitchen. And it depends on what they're doing. Like Young said, you know, he's making $6,000 a day when CP1 was full blast, compared to $200 a day. So your process is totally different, you know, preparing and cooking and whatnot. So, you know, it all depends on what they're doing at the time. You know, it's kind of hard to say you're gonna be cooking hamburgers and steaks and everything else, and then tomorrow you might just be hamburgers and french fries, you know?
So our goal, when they submit their plans, is for them to give us their idea, like you were talking about with your budget. Give us your idea of what you want to do, specifically with this venture and this building. I told Ryan, the best thing that they can do is to submit plans with their idea.
We have no plan, we
No.
got the building, but we have no plans, what Venture or whoever the document's gonna be, of what their intent is. So we need plans to
Because
get that started. whoever.
one example in specific is a new casino in Lake Charles did not submit plans, and we had to have them bust and tear up things and install new things. So the sooner that we can get the architectural plans for this facility, the better. But going back to the commissary, the reasoning behind it is because they are still mobile, they're not a stationary.
And can they become?
But I think in the beginning, didn't we give this, wasn't this a temporary food truck service? And if they wanted to stay,
Right,
they would
and
build?
and that's where we're at, you know. Yaman is trying, he has come
Right.
to us, and he has did his deal. Tressie has come to us now, and she's wanting
They're
to
working
do,
on it.
working on it. And like I said, we're willing to work with them, but we're at a point now where we can't just keep on, "Hey, it's temporary, it's temporary, it's temporary." I mean, it's 2.5 years after Hurricane Laura. It's time for some progress, and that's where Baton Rouge has come down and said, look, we can't keep just extending this temporary thing. You know, we'll work with them as long as they're working towards what they want to do, and Yaman's
Permit, they can no longer, they have to go back and forth to a commissary.
What
Well,
I,
if they're working toward it, we're willing to work with them with that,
Right.
until they can get with their permanent establishment or their commissary or whatever to build. We're willing to work with them, but we're at a point now where we just can't say, we're gonna extend it 6 more months and no more progress.
We gotta see the progress.
We gotta see progress, and we're starting to see that with Yaman, we're starting to see it with Tressie now. You know, we're seeing the progress, but we just need to move forward.
But what can we do to say we're gonna just have four trucks?
So,
Hammer,
okay, can I-
not keep doing the 6-month extension, this,
Okay, so right now, Mr. Scott, the ordinance in Johnson, Holly Beach is for 4 trucks. We could actually piggyback on the back of that and say, we're gonna allow 4 food trucks in the village of Cameron with, if y'all want them to do a commissary or whatever. We don't actually have to do a whole new ordinance if y'all wanna allow 4. Now, if y'all wanna allow less, then we'll do a new ordinance, but it's totally up to y'all.
My problem is, I don't think Cameron needs to lose the 2 that they got.
no, we need them for.
What I'm saying is, how do we keep them? That's what I wanna do. that's just my opinion now, I'm not.
You need to change your ordinance.
So as of right
Well,
now,
we
the
need to
village
change
of
it.
Cameron does not allow food trucks at all.
Oh, well.
So you can change your ordinance to allow food trucks in Cameron, in the village of Cameron only. You can put a limit on it, or it can be an unlimited amount, it's totally up to y'all.
I'm not the jar here, I know Scott is. I don't think the town of Cameron and our Venture Global or anybody else wants to lose those 2.
No, we don't, and I know I've talked, John's talked to me, and John's wanting to get for the 4th one or whatever, or 3rd one here. John's wanting to get him a food truck to be able to have an affair here, or, you know, wherever he goes at, you know.
And John's in a situation where he already has a permanent
Right.
establishment. And he could, it may be some modifications to make it a commissary, but it would be very minimal.
Right.
You know, make his place a
if you,
commissary.
in addition, if you opened it up to a limited number, whoever has a LDH permit can then be a commissary pending they have the necessary requirements for the locally owned, already
Right,
established.
which would be
Yaman
Dog
and-
K's or,
Yeah.
you know, Canics or.
So if that were an option for the person who has, it, you know, and I'm not aware of every one of y'all's, permits here, but anybody that has the capacity to withstand an additional loading for their grease trap and their sewer, those potentially can be a commissary for the already place ones. And then you could do away with the stationary locations.
So John, you're in agreement with that?
That's fine.
So if it's your intent to amend the ordinance to allow for food trucks in the village of Cameron, then it's gonna take a little time to do advertisements and stuff, so you might wanna extend the current order for 3 months while we do the ordinance
Yeah,
change.
cause today would just be authority to advertise.
Yeah. Let's do that, we'll like make it 4. Should we do it?
I'm sure you keep your 2. That's what you need to do.
30 days?
Just wanna make sure that you keep your 2.
Well,
So-
John.
So
Well,
how
John,
many-
The bankers up, Young with the last stand, John with Mechanics. John's already has a permitted establishment, he would just have to amend some of the stuff to get it right on his end.
That's gonna be the thing.
Yaman has submitted a proposal to us, what he would like to do, he would like to go permanent before, which we're fine with that. Tressie has started her commissary permit, what did she need for commissary? Like I said, we're fine with that, we're willing to work with those, because they've already started to work with us. I haven't spoke with John yet, but, and his would be very minimal to get him
Right.
up to where he needs to be.
So the ordinance, if you adopted an ordinance like Holly Beach, it would follow the rules and regulations of DHH, which means they would have to either go to a commissary, build a commissary that they approve, it's still gonna all fall back on them.
Right.
We can say we're gonna allow 10 food trucks, but if none of them pass DHH, they can't come.
And I wanna ask this too, before y'all change anything, is that right now with your executive, order, they are able to be stationary. So you say 3 months, you can get this going and all that. Well, then they would be required to be mobile, because your executive order would no longer be stationary, right? So, I think it's very important to reach out and make sure that those mobile trucks have a commissary to operate out of before you make them, and we have to write them up for not being mobile.
So would they actually have to go back every day? to
It
that
depends
commissary?
on the workload of what is on the truck. So if he's operating Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., and he needs more water throughout the day to wash hands, then he needs to go around 2 to get more water and empty his waste, and then go back to the commissary. That's the purpose of it, so that we're not disposing on the ground or in your sewer lines.
See, that's the thing,
And to build a commissary where he's at, put the money, and then he could dump right there and fill up.
But Ron, at that point in time, if they went, like Tressie's there, and she's okay, from what I'm seeing, they have to go, then it reflects back on our, regulations, right? They would have to be elevated, meet.
Right, yeah, the
DFE.
commissary is gonna have to meet your elevations and all that stuff. for
At that
the
point in
building.
time.
Right, they would have to meet all that stuff with elevations. That is your permanent established kitchen,
Right.
the commissary at that point.
Okay.
The mobile truck would be to go out, kinda like John Mechanic's store is permanent right now.
Yeah.
But his mobile truck would have to go back to his facility every day. Now, he could set up a mobile truck at his facility, and it's there, and,
yeah.
Yes, and we have those in West
Could she tie into their system and be
She would have,
permanent?
Darla K, no, she wouldn't be permanent. Darla K would be
The commissary?
the commissary, but I think there's an issue with that already. We've done.
I'm just asking.
No, it
against
could,
the
it
store,
could be a
you have
possibility.
Commissary, they could hook up.
It could be a
Yeah.
possibility. There, like I said, there's some modifications that have to be done to the
Right.
facility, but it could be a possibility, yes.
And they wouldn't have to move off site every day is what I'm saying.
Well,
That's the
yeah.
only thing I was looking at.
Yes, and we have crawfish boilers and sulfur like that, yes, it can happen.
So Dollar K's right there, and the property between them, I think, is Dollar K's, I think. And Trish's probably joins Dollar K's.
I don't know who owns property there.
It's also gonna be your ordinance too, do you want them stationary there all the time? Do you want your mobile trucks stationary? That's also something for y'all to consider too.
Well, we're hoping they'll have some facilities one day to
Yeah,
sit down and eat.
and that's where Yama's.
We're gonna
going.
have
I
to
mean,
write
Yama
it.
and I had extensive talks about this. He really wants to do away with the food truck.
Right.
You know, that's what
We
he was
know- we
asking
know
me
that.
earlier about the Venture Global project. you
It's
know.
definitely not your optimal workspace for the
We extend it for 3 months and then work on that ordinance and
3 or 6, it's up to you.
6.
The ordinance is gonna have to be written. It's not gonna be able to be,
Yeah,
because of all the differences.
there would have to be
We're gonna have to
the
write.
emergency ordinance, wouldn't it? We'd
Well,
extend
y'all
it
have
out.
an executive order.
Executive order, we'd have to extend it out. Right.
I would say do 6 months, just my personal opinion, as doing what we've done in the past, because as you know, contractors and,
Yeah,
building, it's not fast.
We'll do the 6 months then.
Okay, we'll do-
The executive.
So you wanna do 6 months and write the ordinance, right? All right? Is
Okay.
everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we're willing to work with that.
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
I mean, as long as Miles and the CBO and everybody else are in agreement with, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Thank y'all then.
All right, Katie, y'all got that?
We just need to make sure it's the executive order we're extending.
Property, correct.
Y'all got that?
Yeah, yeah.
Correct, make sure that's.
Thank
And something else too, Robin, on her point, you know, you can't just set up in the middle on the state highway or whatever. You have to be on private property or someone's private property.
That wouldn't necessarily be
Us, no, it's not us, but
But that's
no,
something
you
that
can't
you
just have a
need to
truck
consider.
coming in that's on a park on the side of the road.
Right, right.
You know, it has to be on someone's property.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So just, yeah, Robin brought that up.
We're gonna work with
Yep.
our legal guidance on drafting the
Okay,
ordinance.
all right. Thank y'all.
You're welcome.
Y'all.
We actually have one that would repeal,
Okay, public comment for batch 4 PBDR demo condemnation properties.
So the following properties were on batch 4 PPDR: John Aiken Senior, Grand Lake, Louisiana; Julia Janka Kai, Grand Lake; Scotty Aguilar, Grand Lake; Kyle Delpham, Grand Lake; Gregory Whetstone, Sweet Lake; Louis A. Bear Cameron, Richard Harrington, Johnson Bayou, Tabitha Boudreaux Prio, and Mitchell Russell Hackberry. We had no comment written or oral on this batch 4 demo properties.
Hey, don't let them close that door, please. Okay. All right, any questions? Anybody else? Thank you, Mary. Okay, Katie, Coast Guard, question there?
Yes, so the Coast Guard is conducting a survey to collect comments regarding the adequacy of existing navigational aids in the Mermentau River. So this is like a 3-4 page survey. I've actually put printed copies at the back of the room for anyone that's in attendance that needs help completing it. We'd be happy to submit it to the Coast Guard on your behalf. But essentially, to drill down into what it's asking is it wants to know if users of the Mermentau, if they support removing the buoys in Upper Mud Lake, removing all the navigational aids in Grand Lake, removing all the navigational aids in above Beacon 7 and in Lake Arthur, and possibly supporting reclassifying everything above Beacon 7 and Lake Arthur to a private channel. So long story short, Coast Guard cannot get through the Mermentau in some of these areas because it's too shallow. The Mermentau hasn't been dredged since seventies or eighties. And instead of dredging the Mermentau and fixing the Mermentau River Bridge, their solution is just removing all of the buoys and navigational aids.
Oh, we can't do that.
No,
No,
then that takes
no.
all responsibility away from them. They don't ever
Yes.
have to dredge, no.
We need to do some kind of letter to.
So
support
that's
people
what I'm
out there.
asking. This survey is, something that any stakeholders, industry, residents that use the Mermentau, they need to try to complete this and submit it, showing how often it's used and what it's used for. And even though the parish is not traditionally a user of the Mermentau, I feel like we could provide some sort of comment or resolution, coming out against the removal and reclassification of the Mermentau.
But we have people that use
project.
Grand Engineer Park, along these big fishing boats and stuff, you gotta open that bridge up, you know.
The bridge has been broke since Hurricane Laura, so the only way you can get through the Mermentau River Bridge is if you call them, schedule an appointment, and they will go, on their appointment, they will show up with the generator and open it for you.
Then if we have barges and stuff that wanna pass, you know, hauling oil or whatever they're doing again, I mean, hopefully things are gonna pick back up. I mean, we gotta have
Well,
navigable.
I think our main goal here is drainage.
Yeah, drainage,
I mean, cause if it silts up, we like the old river there.
I feel mine out already,
Okay.
and, but I think we need to leave the buoys in. We need to dredge it for the drainage like he talked about, and we need the swab material. Y'all know that.
Yes,
also,
so,
we need to work on getting that channel shut down, going out of Grand Engineer and open that old river back up.
Yes.
okay,
Clean
so,
all the property up and we need to do that.
okay, no, we can incorporate allowing me to provide comment, I wasn't sure how you guys.
Could've put it on the voting meeting
Yeah.
You had enough time.
Well, it's a questionnaire and it asks very specific questions like, you know, where do you use, what buoys do you use, how do you,
We just need to put a letter.
identify, it's a lot of specific questions for people that actually use the Mermentau. So, we're not users of it, but I wanted to be able to go into the comments and provide your stance that you would be against any removal of navigational aids buoys and reclassification of the Mermentau to a private channel.
Right.
So I'd like to be
Well,
able to provide that.
Can we add that to
comment.
the agenda for letters?
Yes, sir. And then again, for the public that's listening in, it is actually on the port's website, CameronParishPort.com. If you go to their website, you can click on it and you're able to be directed to a PDF. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Kim.
No, Katie is doing a good job. I just wanted to add that I've been working on this for several months now, and the Louisiana Farm Bureau is putting a letter in. A lot of the Jeff Davis entities, I've approached it from the users on the channel with the boats and all that, but I've also approached it from the drainage because they have a lot of power in that. And then also, it hasn't been dredged since 1986, and that's the next project, is to get it dredged. The money was there before Hurricane Laura hit. They took that money and used that for emergency projects, catfish locks, etc. And so the money was there. We've just got to get legislation money back there for the Corps to dredge it again. They know it needs to be done. The spoil sites were there in the 80s when it was dredged. So it may be working with local landowners to make sure
I know our property's one of them.
all of that. But I just wanted to add that.
Would there be any way that you could get a map that shows the soundings going through there on how deep it is right now?
Probably so, because I think the Coast Guard has done some of those.
I'd like to have one.
Okay.
If you could.
I'll work on that.
Thank you, Ms. Karen.
So for the public that's listening in, you could go to their website, CameronParishPort.com. You're able to fill out the PDF, print it, and you have to email it to the email address listed below. It's accessible through our Facebook page. And if you don't have access to a computer or a printer, we have several community libraries copies at the back for anyone in attendance that wants to take it with them or fill it out today, and I'll send it.
Well, just so they know, the Cameron Parish Police Jury is against removing any of them.
We're gonna put that as
So
an
we're gonna do
add-on.
an add-on as, for a letter of opposition against removing all buoys and beacons
Yes.
related to this.
Okay?
Thank you.
I think at one time the controlling depth going through Grand Lake and the river and everything was around 17 feet. And it'd be interesting to see what it is right now. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that down.
We ain't got a 5 foot ground right there.
They're saying that in Upper Mud Lake, where they're trying to get to some of those buoys, it's less than 3 feet.
Yeah.
About 4.5,
Through Grand Lake?
yes.
It's muddied up. Okay, thank y'all. Shane?
Yeah, I just wanna give y'all a little update, the Cameron boat launch, the new boat launch on Davis Road is now open, and the one across the prairie is now open. We were planning on taking the fencing down this week at one of the ferries.
Okay, so Monty's gonna get those taken down?
Yes. They should be doing it today.
Appreciate that, thank you. Anybody else have anything? Okay, review the agenda?
I got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, I think we answered one or two. Number 17, the school board will sign a CEA with the school board on,
So that is FFA Lane, and, do you wanna take it, Gary?
I can answer any questions you may have on it. Basically, the replacement of FFA Lane, I think has been a little more extensive than what the school board was prepared for. So we entered into a CEA agreement with them to help get this completed, get the subsurface drainage in along the west side of the road. We're actually talking with the waterworks department about water line that's in the east ditch so we can get the drainage corrected in that area as well.
And if you remember, it was a road that was very rarely used prior to the new school being built. But since they've built the brand new school in Hackberry, the school buses utilize that road now for drop-off.
Correct.
So it had to be improved and upgraded, and so, and I think Mr. Tom wants to kind of talk to you about it, but that's,
what was the cost of, or whatever we
Well,
gotta do?
so I think it's in the agreement, but basically the road was substandard before anything was ever done. The road got tore up a little bit. The contractor was gonna put it back in the condition it was before, which would have left you with a substandard type road. In conversations with Mr. Lemons and Katie, it decided that the school board would contribute funds to get it back to where it was, and then the police jury would use your funds to improve it. So it's a joint, because we're sharing funds with two different agencies to improve the road, the school board putting it back to as it was, you're gonna improve it to make it better. That's what this is about. And it outlines their obligation to pay to get it to point A, and your obligation to pay to get it to point B, so that we have a acceptable road for the school buses, basically. Or for public, it's a public road, it's your road. So, and I think the numbers are in,
it's around $145,000.
I'm gonna say 150.
That includes the road, and it also includes about $70,000 of drainage that had to be replaced when they built the new school. It was inadequate, and so we replaced all of the drainage.
So this
And
was
they're
after
still
the
actually
fact, they didn't
installing.
catch that in the beginning?
It's something that we worked through. We're just not getting to the point for the CEA, but it was conversations that Mr. Lemons and I had. We were trying to get Hackberry School open on time. So they accepted it, substantially complete a little early. This was the road that was still being fixed. It's just kind of taken this long to get to the point. Actually, they're still not finished with the drainage. But it was something that I committed to him that, I figured the jury, you would support this, especially being it's for their new Hackberry School. And it was our existing drainage that needed to be replaced anyways.
Okay.
13, the batches on the PPDR, Danny, I'd like to request that the properties adjacent to the old, the old school, south of the school now, that property it's on PPDR, and the
Okay.
bad thing about it, it's falling down. The school kids, a lot of kids have to travel that area, and I'd like for that to be moved somewhere close to the top to try, for safety reasons. You know, like I said, it is en route to the other half of the school.
Well,
I'm worried about those kids.
And see what batch it's on, cause right now with batch one's about the only one we got completed. What the steps left to take care of batch one is, they're gonna sign the contract today with the contractor, and Mary's gonna do a notice to proceed with the work. That's only like 10 properties. But, I'll look up and see where that's at,
I think it is on one, Danny.
Sir?
I think it is on batch one.
Okay, if it is, okay.
It was
So,
already on, yeah.
the ball be rolling after everything's signed today and sealed, and they send a letter, they're gonna start bringing in equipment, staging it, and start the work.
Okay, cause it's really a dangerous area with that building that's falling apart now after the storm, and, it's already been destroyed. But they got the contractors, they got the building, they're building that building there, and that property, and they gotta walk in between that. They gotta travel in between that. Kinda worries me that, and it worries some of the
We'll
other.
make it high priority. Jim's in here, he's taking notes, so.
Okay.
We'll get on that today, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any more?
I'm good.
Okay,
Number-
did you question the item 20?
That's where I was going to now. Our dues went way up on the Police Jury Association.
Yes, sir.
We questioned why they going up, unlike everybody else going up.
Yeah. I guess they'll blame inflation. I don't know. It's
I mean-
just, it's something that they increase, everyone's increased, and the Police Jury Association, they provide, technical assistance to Mary and I almost on a weekly basis about public meetings and ordinance changes and Attorney General opinions. They're a very good resource for the staff that we
So
utilize.
Guy Cormier's salary's going up then.
I don't
They
know.
jump at $2,600?
Yeah,
Wasn't it 7,500?
yes.
Yes, sir.
Jeez.
It was the same price it was 9,600 last year.
Was it?
It used to be 70.
It used to be 75. I think after the storms it went up.
I'm glad they don't charge my light bill.
But they are a resource to the staff.
Tremendous.
No, they're good resource. I was just
Yeah.
wondering why they went up so high drastically all at one time. Number 23, this CEA with the 911 with 25 other parishes is just a.
All right, yeah. Y'all signed a resolution back in June. We
Yeah.
was asking, we got 28 parishes in the state. We was asking to get a resolution to look for a consultant to do a RFP and RFQ. We found a consultant. Now we're doing a resolution to sign this CEA so we can get this consultant to create the document we want. It's $130,000. We're all splitting the cost. Our share from Cameron is $403. Okay, yeah. So there's federal
About 6 hours?
Anyway, that's where we at on the 911.
All right.
Good.
I do have one more, Curtis, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Number 24, what are we adding to Porsche A&M's contract? What's all this federal positions to current contract?
That agreements, that you are sharing any, conflicts of interest that has to be signed, and then saying that you're gonna follow their federal procurement guidelines with doing, public bid law and scoring, doing RFQ and RFP process. And so it's something that we do with every contract. It was just initially left out of the original contract, so we're amending it to add it back in, but it does not change the amount, the time, or anything.
So we still have these on contract right now?
Yes, sir.
Porsche, I mean.
Yes, sir.
Oh, boy.
And, so Also on the agenda, just to kind of give you an update on what the library board's doing, they met, last week, and they decided to, recommend, getting authority to bid the Cameron Main Library. It's one of the last libraries that need to be fixed, and the estimated cost is, they have a lot of upgrades in there, just to repair what was, fixed, will replace what was damaged in the hurricanes, about estimated at 1.6 million. And then they have, $100,000 worth of alternates in there to just do upgrades. It wasn't hurricane lore damage.
So they got plenty of money.
Yes, they have plenty of money in their budget, and that's the last building that they really need to fix. They also decided, for Lowry not to replace it at this time. The cost estimate came in really high, they didn't wanna invest the money back fixing that building, so they are vetting the idea of purchasing a modular unit and placing it in Klondike, next to the Road and Bridge, building. The board did vote on that to abandon Lowry and pursue the Klondike idea, and right now our project manager, Mr. Randy Thomas, is vetting the idea, making sure that it's permittable and there's room, and that it would make it through fire marshal approval before we take it to the jury for final approval.
Okay.
So you have authority to bid Cameron Main on the agenda.
I do have one other question that was on the voting meeting this evening.
And has it gotten to the drainage board yet?
When is y'all's next meeting, Katie? Drainage board?
March.
March.
We're supposed to, drainage board is supposed to vet it before it comes to the jury. If this just must
Well,
be something that accidentally.
That's what I was
slipped
wondering, so I'm
through.
probably gonna table it today.
Table it till we meet.
And y'all may have to call a special meeting in between now and March, I guess, I don't know.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind.
That's good.
All right, thank you. I'm done, Curtis. Hurry up before I can change my mind.
Anybody else? Well, you know, we did pretty good, only an hour, and yeah.
There's one add-on, Mr. President, for a letter of opposition, removing buoys and beacons out of the permit money.
Anybody else? Well, thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.